There is a reason you've always felt watched. Not by people, by something older, wiser, divine, noticed, but not seen, marked, but not named. You've walked through life carrying a weight you couldn't explain, a heaviness in the spirit, a silence in your soul that whispered, you were made for more. This is Chosen One's sanctuary. And what you're about to hear isn't a message. It's a memory returning to you. A sacred echo rising from the scroll of heaven, one that's been sealed with your name since before you were born. The world may have overlooked you. Family may have misunderstood you. Even you may have questioned whether the dreams, the delays, the strange divine moments were ever real. But here is the truth. God did not forget. He hid the blessing on purpose. Scripture tells us plainly in Isaiah 45:3, I will give you hidden treasures, riches stored in secret places, so that you may know that I am the Lord, the God of Israel, who summons you by name. That promise is not symbolic. It is sacred. And for you, Chosen One, it is active. Right now. Because God has already set the blessing in motion, not in the spotlight where it could be sabotaged, but in the shadows where it could be strengthened. It is not lost. It is waiting, and it will appear when you least expect it. So watch closely. Stay to the very end. What's hidden is not gone. It's guarded, and what's coming won't just change your life. It will reveal why your life was marked from the beginning. Let's go deeper. The Law of Divine Concealment. There is a sacred mystery in how God moves. He does not reveal everything at once. To be chosen by God is to walk with eyes open and yet still blind to certain things, because some blessings are not meant to be seen until they are ready to change your life. God hides what is holy. It is His pattern, not His punishment. He does it not to frustrate you, but to protect what carries divine weight. From Genesis to Revelation, the treasures of heaven are never delivered casually. They are hidden, veiled, wrapped in time and trial. And Chosen One, what you are waiting for has not been denied. It has been concealed because its appointed hour has not yet arrived. The blessing is real, but its timing is sacred. The promise is alive, but its exposure would be premature. Just as a seed is buried in the soil to protect it from wind and birds and trampling feet, God buries certain blessings deep in your story, not to forget them, but to allow them to take root. What is hidden is still growing. What is concealed is still moving. And when the time is right, what seemed delayed will appear with such force and clarity that it will erase the ache of waiting. Consider the words of Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. To search out a matter is the glory of kings. Even heaven veils its treasures, and only those with kingly discernment can perceive the weight of what has not yet been revealed. Many fall into despair because they confuse silence with absence. But God's silence is often where the blessing begins. It's where He watches to see if you will remain faithful in the dark, if you will still worship when nothing moves, if you will still believe when there is no sign. In that hidden space, your blessing is not just being formed, it is being fortified. And the greater the assignment, the deeper the concealment. This is why some of the most powerful callings feel like loneliness before they feel like destiny. You are not forgotten. You are being hidden like a jewel in the folds of God's garment. But that hiding is not forever. It is not punishment. It is preparation. Because what is hidden by God will be revealed by God. And when it is, no power in hell can stop it. The ones who understand this are not those who demand answers, but those who recognize the rhythm of heaven, even when it is invisible. And to those who trust the silence, the sudden unveiling will not come as a surprise. It will feel like prophecy fulfilled. For the one who has been asking why the breakthrough hasn't come yet, why the promise still looks distant, hear this truth. It is not lost. It is simply waiting to be revealed in the hour that protects both the blessing and the one who carries it. What God hides, He plans to reveal, but only when the soil of your spirit has been made ready. Biblical blueprints of hidden blessings. To understand what God is doing in your life, you must look at how He moved in the lives of those He called before you. The pattern has never changed. Hidden blessings are the signature of heaven's strategy for those set apart. The blueprint is ancient, and it is personal. David was a king long before a crown touched his head. The prophet Samuel anointed him in private, in the quiet of his father's house, while his own family didn't even believe he was worth presenting. God's choice was hidden in the fields, wrapped in shepherd's clothes, developing in isolation. If David had been thrust onto the throne too soon, the weight of the kingdom would have crushed him. But because he was hidden, he was prepared. And when the time came, no man, no king, no giant could stand in his way. Joseph was shown his future in a dream, a divine glimpse into leadership and legacy. But the blessing didn't arrive with a robe of glory. It came with betrayal. He was sold, lied on, imprisoned, and forgotten. Each stage looked like failure. But in truth, each valley was a hallway leading him straight to Pharaoh's palace. The dream never died. It only descended deeper into God's timing. Esther lived in obscurity, an orphaned exile, but her beauty and obedience positioned her for a blessing hidden in royal halls. Her moment didn't come until a nation was hanging in the balance. Then, what had been hidden became the answer to a people's survival. Her voice, once silent, became the sound of deliverance. These are not just stories, they are mirrors. Chosen one, your delays are not random. Your detours are not missteps. They are evidence of a hidden blessing maturing under divine surveillance. The more significant your assignment, the more mysterious your path. Heaven is not late. Heaven is layering the foundations so that when the blessing breaks, it will not just touch you, it will ripple through generations. But there is a warning buried in the blueprint. If you misinterpret your hidden season, you may abandon it. If you believe the silence is rejection, you may walk away from the place where God planned to unveil you. That is how many lose what was always theirs, by leaving the soil just before the seed breaks through. Chosen one, do not measure your destiny by visibility. Your calling is not about applause. It's about alignment. When heaven unveils the blessing, it will look like sudden success, but the Spirit will know it was years of hidden obedience finally being brought into the light. And the light is coming, but only for those who refuse to give up when no one was watching. The deeper the concealment, the louder the unveiling. And yours will be undeniable. Let us now turn to the reason behind the hiding. Why a holy God would keep something so good, so sacred, so long out of view. The answer is more loving than we expect. It is about safety. It is about timing. It is about you. The purpose of hiddenness. God never hides what He doesn't intend to reveal, but what He conceals, He does so with purpose. And that purpose is almost always protection. Chosen one, you are not being withheld from your destiny. You are being shielded by the hand of the Almighty until the environment, your spirit, and the enemies around you can no longer touch what is sacred. God is not a God of chaos. He does not drop blessings into unguarded spaces. He places them in the dark, like seeds, so they can be nourished away from predators, away from pride, and away from sabotage. Just as a mother's womb protects a child until the moment of birth, your hidden season is a womb of promise. And in that womb, your blessing is being formed with care. Some blessings are too weighty to be revealed before the soul is strong enough to carry them. Like an unripe fruit, plucked too early. What is immature cannot nourish. It spoils, it withers, and sometimes it wounds. That is why God waits. That is why He sometimes says nothing while working everything. Chosen one, the hiddenness is not about punishment. It's about precision. God is removing people who would try to take credit for your breakthrough. He is silencing voices that would distort your purpose. He is breaking off habits that would destroy the blessing once it arrives. If He gave it to you now, your hands might not know how to hold it. Your heart might not know how to protect it. Your mind might not know how to discern it. There are battles that rage behind the veil, unseen forces that target anything bearing divine favor. In the unseen, spiritual assassins gather at the scent of promotion, and so God hides you. Not because you are weak, but because you are chosen. He hides you, not because you are forgotten, but because your season of emergence must be secured by heaven itself. Look again at Moses, born for deliverance, yet sent down the Nile in a basket, hidden from the sword of Pharaoh, raised in the house of the enemy, but untouched by the enemy's agenda. His entire life was divine concealment until the day God called from the burning bush. Or look at Jesus, Son of the living God, yet hidden in Egypt, raised quietly in Nazareth. No temple parade, no heavenly trumpet, just ordinary days covering extraordinary power. Because if the fullness had been revealed too soon, it would have been destroyed before it could fulfill its purpose. Chosen one, the same hand that anoints is the hand that hides. He hides you because your calling is not for public entertainment. It is for kingdom transformation, and the enemy cannot attack what he cannot trace. That is why your relationships shifted. That is why certain doors closed without warning. That is why silence met your prayers. Not because God disappeared, but because He moved you into secrecy. And when God Himself is your shield, no one, not even you, can access what is hidden before its time. But that time is approaching. The moment where what was protected will be presented. And when it is, it will not be fragile. It will be fire-tested, wilderness-hardened, and divinely preserved. Your blessing will come forth not with chaos, but with clarity, not as a question, but as confirmation. So honor the hiddenness, embrace the silence, because what God hides, He reveals with glory. And when that glory begins to stir, there are signs that cannot be ignored. Movements in the spirit, shifts in your atmosphere, signals from heaven that the blessing is no longer far, it is near. You are not just waiting. You are being positioned for unveiling. And heaven always leaves a trail when it is about to move. The moment of sudden unveiling. Heaven does not stutter when it moves. It speaks once, and reality bends to obey. That is why, when God reveals a hidden blessing, it rarely drips in slowly. It appears suddenly, unmistakably, irreversibly. Chosen one, The blessing you've been praying for will not tiptoe into your life. It will arrive like morning light through a cracked door. Swift, warm, and undeniable. One moment, you are still waiting, still wondering, still whispering, "When, Lord?" And the next, you are standing in the middle of what you once only saw in dreams. This is the pattern of God. He moves slowly, in silence, but suddenly in fulfillment. Malachi 3:1 declares, "The Lord you are seeking will come to his temple suddenly." That's not poetic flair. That is a divine pattern. The hiddenness may last for years, but the unveiling happens in a moment. The silence builds tension, so that when the breakthrough comes, it is unmistakably supernatural. And the same God who kept you in the shadows is the God who will announce you with fire. When it happens, the timing will not just feel right, it will feel holy. Doors you didn't knock on will open. People who once ignored you will seek you. Things that once fought you will fall away without resistance. Why? Because when God says now, no voice, no delay, no demon can say otherwise. But here is the part you must not miss. The unveiling will only seem sudden to you. In heaven, it has been orchestrated for years. Every heartbreak, every delay, every shift, every closed door, all of it was heaven building the stage. All of it was rehearsal for a scene that only God could write. Think of Joseph. One moment he was a prisoner, forgotten, dismissed, overlooked. And then, in a single day, he stood before Pharaoh, interpreted the dream, and was elevated to power. The unveiling was sudden, but the preparation had been years in the making. Think of the widow in 2 Kings 4. She had nothing left but a jar of oil. Yet when the prophet gave the word, what she thought was insufficient became abundant. The oil didn't increase slowly. It poured until every vessel was full. Her blessing had been in her house the entire time. She just couldn't see it. And what about Peter? Toiled all night, caught nothing. Jesus steps into his boat. One word, one instruction. Suddenly, nets breaking with fish. It wasn't just a miracle. It was a moment of unveiling. The ordinary boat became a stage for supernatural abundance. Chosen one, your moment will not be chaos. It will be confirmation. You will know it's from God because it will come with peace. Not the absence of noise, but the presence of divine order. The kind of peace that silences every voice of doubt you ever entertained. And yet, this unveiling will not be for your applause. It will be for your assignment. It will confirm your identity, but also activate your mission. The blessing is not just to bless you. It is to awaken you to why you were hidden in the first place. But here is the danger. If you are not spiritually alert, you may miss the moment you were born for. Many pray for the unveiling, but are too distracted to recognize it when it comes. The window is holy. It is precise, and it will not linger forever. This is why you must sharpen your awareness. Because before the unveiling, heaven often stirs the atmosphere. It sends signs. It speaks in repetition. It disrupts the familiar. And if you're paying attention, you will feel it before you see it. What's hidden is not behind you. It's already ahead of you, moving, forming, aligning. And your only job is to stay in position and discern the moment when everything shifts. Because when it does, you will not just enter the blessing. You will become the evidence that God still reveals what He hides. Now listen closely, because when heaven prepares to move, it does not move quietly. The air changes, the spirit shifts, and the signs begin to fall like divine breadcrumbs, leading you into the moment you were made for. Signs. You're near the unveiling. Before the hidden blessing touches earth, heaven leaves a trail. Not always loud, not always obvious, but unmistakable to those who have trained their spirit to listen. Chosen one. If your soul has been stirred lately, if the atmosphere around you has felt unsettled, you may already be standing at the threshold of divine unveiling. One of the first signs is a sudden shift in your spirit, a restlessness that doesn't come from fear, but from holy tension. You feel the pull of something greater without knowing where it leads. Your prayers grow deeper without explanation. Your dreams return with clarity or symbols that seem to repeat. The inner witness of the Holy Spirit starts to press against your daily routine. This is not anxiety. This is movement. Then come the external disruptions. Old relationships begin to fade. Conversations lose their weight. Environments that once felt safe begin to feel spiritually stale. Opportunities dry up without reason, not because you've done something wrong, but because God is closing what no longer aligns with what's about to arrive. At the same time, unusual confirmations begin to appear. You see the same verse 3 times in 1 week. Someone speaks a sentence that matches your secret prayer. You keep noticing numbers like 111, 777, 818, not as superstition, but as signals pointing toward divine timing. This is heaven tapping on your shoulder, saying, stay awake. And when warfare increases, do not panic. That is another sign. Before breakthrough, pressure comes. The enemy senses what your natural eyes cannot yet see. You may experience strange delays, emotional fatigue, even unexpected conflicts. But this is not evidence that you've gone astray. It is proof that something worth attacking is about to be born. Provision may trickle in subtly, a random blessing here, a divine connection there. These are the first drops before the rain. The main blessing hasn't arrived yet, but heaven is already rehearsing your spirit to receive. But the most overlooked sign of all is peace. Not peace from perfect circumstances. Peace that makes no earthly sense. A stillness within your soul that says, something is coming, and I don't have to force it. That peace is heaven's final seal. It is what Jesus carried before every miracle. It is what Elijah felt before the rain. It is the mark that you have passed the test of waiting. Chosen one, you must discern these signs, or you may misinterpret what was meant to guide you. Many have walked away in the final hour because the signs felt like endings instead of beginnings. But for the awakened spirit, every closed door is a trumpet. Every strange stirring is a signal. When the signs begin to align, don't share too much. Don't move too fast. Don't doubt what you're sensing just because others can't feel it. Some unveilings require secrecy until the glory is too strong to be hidden. Some require stillness until the door swings open by God's hand alone. And when it happens, you will look back and see that every delay was divine, every shift was strategy, and every sign was a whisper from heaven preparing you for this very moment. But be warned, not every sign is a green light. Some are distractions in disguise, planted by the enemy to make you step out of position too soon. That's why we must now expose the last-minute tactics used to derail the chosen right before the blessing appears. Because timing means nothing if your focus is gone. And the enemy knows that if he can't stop heaven from sending it, he'll do everything to keep you from seeing it. The enemy's strategy to distract. If the enemy cannot cancel your calling, he will attempt to cloud your clarity. His final weapon is not always force, it is distraction. And chosen one, the closer you are to the unveiling, the more precise and persuasive his distractions will become. Distraction is not random, it is strategy. Hell studies patterns. It watches your habits. It waits for signs of heavenly movement. And just before the hidden blessing is revealed, just before the door swings open, the enemy sends bait. Sometimes it looks like conflict, sudden tension in relationships, old wounds reopened, voices from the past resurfacing to challenge your identity. Not because you've regressed, but because you're about to be elevated. And the enemy wants to pull your emotions into petty warfare, so your spirit is too exhausted to notice when the door appears. Other times, distraction comes as a counterfeit, an offer that looks close to the real thing, but lacks the anointing of heaven. A relationship that mimics connection, but hides compromise. An opportunity that promises breakthrough, but requires a sacrifice of your integrity. These are Ishmaels before Isaacs, options that test your hunger against your holiness. The enemy also uses crisis. Not every storm is demonic, but he will ride any wave to drown your focus. Financial anxiety, sudden illness, fear-based decisions, anything that pulls your eyes from the promise and places your faith in survival. But chosen one, hear this. When pressure increases, it means you are too close to the blessing to retreat now. Then comes the internal attack. Thoughts of unworthiness, doubt, heaviness, confusion. You begin to question everything. Was I really chosen? What if I missed it? These are not your thoughts. They are seeds whispered into your soul to make you abort the promise before it breathes. And finally, distraction often comes as busyness, not sin, just noise. Too many obligations, too many voices, no room for stillness. The enemy knows if he cannot disqualify you, he will keep you so preoccupied that you miss the moment God says move. That is why this hour requires discipline. This is not the season to say yes to everything. This is not the time to explain yourself to everyone. The blessing you are about to receive is sacred, and sacred things demand space. Chosen one, you must guard your gaze. Protect your atmosphere. Choose silence over spectacle. Choose discernment over urgency. When distraction knocks, ask yourself, will this pull me toward God's voice or away from it? And remember this, distraction in the final hour is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of heaven's timing. Hell doesn't bother with what is stagnant. It only attacks what is rising. So do not be surprised by the turbulence. It is proof that your blessing is already in motion. But motion is not enough. Movement is not the miracle. The final step is alignment, the holy posture of a life fully positioned to receive, not just hoping, not just watching, but standing where heaven plans to pour. And to reach that place, your spirit must now shift into position, positioning yourself to receive. A hidden blessing is never stumbled upon. It is revealed to those who are positioned, spiritually, emotionally, and prophetically, to receive. Chosen one, you don't prepare after the door opens. You prepare so that when it opens, your hands are ready, your spirit is steady, and your posture matches heaven's assignment. Positioning is not passive. It is a prophetic act of alignment. It says to God, I trust what I cannot see, and I'm moving according to what I've heard in my spirit. It begins with obedience, often to small, strange instructions. Leave that place. Disconnect from that voice. Sow that seed. Speak that word. God will test your willingness to move without full explanation. Just like Naaman dipping in a river that didn't make sense. Just like Abraham walking toward a mountain he'd never seen. Obedience opens doors that logic never will. Then comes preparation. Heaven watches how you steward what you have before it increases. If you're believing for a new space, are you decluttering the old? If you're asking for influence, are you studying in secret? God often delays release until you show evidence that you've made room for what you're requesting. Positioning also requires purity, not perfection, but purification. If your motives are rooted in ego, revenge, or approval, the blessing will either crush you or be corrupted through you. That's why the waiting season burns away everything false. Because what's coming is holy, and it cannot share space with unresolved bitterness or secret idolatry. The next layer is your atmosphere. What you surround yourself with either invites the blessing or interferes with it. Are your conversations laced with gossip or prophecy? Is your media intake fueling faith or fear? Are you walking with people who push you toward the promise or pull you back into patterns? The spiritual climate around you will either preserve the blessing or suffocate it. And then comes expectancy. To be chosen means to expect the unexpected. You wake up with spiritual readiness, not anxiety, but anticipation. A heart that whispers, "Lord, is today the day?" This expectancy fuels alertness. It trains you to recognize quiet doors and humble beginnings. Because hidden blessings rarely arrive with applause. They slip in quietly and ask if your spirit has been watching. For many, the blessing includes tangible provision, finances, partnerships, platforms. And yet, God will often hold it until you demonstrate stewardship over the little. If you waste what you already have, what message does that send to heaven? Positioning means managing the resources in your hand as if the flood has already begun. Prayer and fasting sharpen your hearing. When you set aside natural distractions, spiritual clarity increases. Many miss their moment, not because God didn't speak, but because the noise drowned out his whisper. And sometimes, the whisper contains the instruction that opens the door. All of this, obedience, preparation, purification, atmosphere, expectancy, stewardship, intimacy, is positioning, and it is a form of worship. It says to God, "I believe you enough to live like it's already done." Chosen one, alignment is your final step before the unveiling. Not striving, not chasing. Alignment. Because what's coming is not something you can manufacture. You cannot manipulate it into existence. You can only be ready when heaven says, "Now." And here's the most sacred truth. When you are in position, even the enemy cannot intercept what's coming. The blessing has already been assigned your coordinates. It knows where to land. The only question is, will you be there when it arrives? But even when it arrives, one danger remains. One tragedy still lingers, that the blessing could stand before you and you not recognize it. So now, we enter the final test, the one that separates the distracted from the discerning. Because when the hidden blessing finally appears, you must see it for what it is, or you will miss what heaven meant for you. Recognizing the blessing when it appears. One of the greatest tragedies in the realm of the chosen is not the absence of blessing, but the failure to recognize it. Chosen one, heaven can release what was promised, and yet if your discernment is dull or your heart is distracted, you can walk right past the miracle that bears your name. Blessings often arrive wearing the disguise of responsibility. They show up as extra weight, a new challenge, or a quiet invitation to serve. You pray for breakthrough, and God sends you someone in need. You ask for elevation, and God gives you an assignment. The immature mind says, "This isn't what I asked for." But the awakened spirit knows, this is how it begins. Scripture is full of veiled blessings. David was called to be king, but his promotion first looked like delivering lunch to the battlefield. Ruth's redemption came not through a royal procession, but through faithful gleaning in a stranger's field. Jesus, the Messiah, was born in a feeding trough. So ordinary in appearance, so eternal in identity. Over and over again, God hides glory inside the mundane. Chosen one, you must train your eyes to see beyond packaging. The enemy loves to distract you with false expectations. You imagine the blessing coming through someone influential, but God chose someone overlooked. You pictured it arriving with fanfare, but it came quietly, slipping into your routine. This is why spiritual sensitivity is essential. If you are too caught up in appearances, you'll judge the blessing by its exterior. If you are still idolizing a certain look or pathway, you may reject what God designed specifically for you. Remember this truth: not every divine opportunity announces itself. Some slip in through side doors. Some knock once, then wait to see if you're paying attention. Blessings also speak to your spirit before they confirm in your mind. That subtle peace, that divine alignment, that inner knowing that says, this is different. It may not make total sense, but it carries heaven's fingerprint. That's why your time in prayer matters. When your spirit is attuned to the voice of God, you won't need loud signs. You'll recognize His move in a whisper. But here's the warning. If fear, unhealed wounds, or comparison are clouding your perception, you may reject the very thing God is giving to restore you. Many have turned away blessings because they didn't feel ready, didn't trust themselves, or thought the timing was off. But when heaven delivers, readiness is not a feeling, it's a posture. The true test is not just receiving the blessing, but recognizing the assignment inside of it. God doesn't give for indulgence. He gives to fulfill purpose. The right relationship will stretch your love. The right platform will test your voice. The right opportunity will challenge your identity. And if it doesn't carry responsibility, it's not from God. It's a distraction. A real blessing aligns with His word, flows with peace, and bears lasting fruit. It may come with challenges, but it will not come with compromise. It will never require you to lower your standards, betray your values, or walk away from God to keep it. If it does, it's not a blessing. It's a beautifully packaged trap. Chosen one, your eyes must be sharp, your ears must be open, your heart must be humble. Because what's coming may not look like what you pictured, but it will carry the power to shift everything. And when it arrives, don't hesitate. Don't delay because of doubt. Don't shrink back because of past pain. This is what you prayed for. This is what you were hidden for. The blessing has finally emerged, and heaven is watching to see if you will step into it. Because once it's revealed, everything changes. And in that moment, you don't just receive the blessing, you become the evidence that the hidden hand of God still moves in the lives of His chosen. From here, there is only one thing left to say. One final word. One prophetic charge that will seal everything you've heard. A blessing over your mind, your timing, your mission, and your heart. Chosen one, what heaven hides is never lost. It is preserved. And what is preserved by God is destined to emerge with glory. not in fragments, but in fullness. Every concealed moment in your life, every silent delay, every overlooked door, every unanswered prayer was not emptiness. It was echo, a signal from eternity that something sacred was being held back until the appointed time. Not to punish you, but to protect what is holy within you. This is the mystery of divine timing. God does not move at the speed of your pain, or your plans, or your pressure. He moves at the speed of destiny. He waits until your hands are clean enough to hold it, until your heart is healed enough to carry it, until your mind is renewed enough to recognize it. That is the love of God, not just giving you what you prayed for, but preparing you to keep it. There is a reason you were hidden. There's a reason you felt unseen. And now that reason is becoming revelation. The blessing is not random. It is righteous. It is targeted. And it carries your name in the handwriting of heaven. So now, the deeper question remains. When the blessing appears, will you be ready to step into it? Not as a seeker, but as a steward. Will you carry it with worship, not pride? Will you guard it, not glorify it? Will you still love the one who gave it more than the gift itself? Because what God is about to release is not only a gift to you, it is a testimony through you. Others will see the blessing and realize it was never luck. It was legacy. It was never chance. It was covenant. Here is your prophetic seal. You are not waiting for favor. You were born with it, hidden in your bones. You are not chasing breakthrough. Breakthrough has been circling you since birth. The blessing you are about to hold is not new. It is remembered. It is the return of what was always yours. So walk in expectancy. Speak with faith. Guard your spirit. Because when the time comes, and it is near, what was hidden will rise, and the world will call it sudden. But you will know it was God, the one who hides, the one who reveals, the one who never forgets his chosen. If this word stirred something in you, take a moment and breathe it in. Then declare it by faith in the comments. Drop 777 if your spirit is in alignment. Or share your story, your waiting, your dreams, your signs, so other chosen ones can find strength in your journey. Subscribe to Chosen One's Sanctuary to stay rooted in prophetic truth and divine insight. Share this message with someone who's been holding on in the dark. They need to know. The light is already moving toward them. And finally, leave your interpretation or your questions below. What did you feel? What did the Spirit highlight for you? We read every single one, and your voice carries more weight than you know. Until next time, walk like you've been marked, because you have. And heaven is about to prove it.